Baalbek, which is located in Lebanon, and I had the great privilege of going there in September of last year, exactly 1 month before things kicked off in Israel with the whole Hamas thing. And if I hadn't got there then, I wouldn't have no chance. Like right now, Israel's bombing Lebanon, and so it's a dangerous place.
Beneath the sunlit Roman columns of Baalbek, there lies a secret most tourists never notice. Massive stone blocks, some weighing more than 3 fully loaded jumbo jets, fitted together with a precision that defies modern engineering. And yet,
but made huge advances in engineering, sanitation, and technology.
No Roman inscriptions, no records, no explanation. How could humans move and position stones of that size without the machines we take for granted today? Did the Romans build this? Or did they simply inherit something far older, far more advanced than history has admitted? And if they didn't build it, who did? And why has the story been lost to time? Today, we're diving beneath the temples, into the foundations that challenge everything we thought we knew about ancient human capability. What you see may change the way you look at civilization itself. The temple. Everyone sees Balbeck sits approximately 85 kilometers northeast of Beirut, in a fertile valley that has drawn human settlement for at least 9,000 years. The Romans knew it as Heliopolis, the city of the sun. They transformed it into one of the most ambitious religious complexes in their entire empire, constructing temples to Jupiter, Bacchus, and Venus that rivaled anything standing in Rome itself. The Temple of Jupiter once featured 54 columns, each standing 22 meters tall. Today, only 6 remain upright, toppled by centuries of earthquakes, but they are still among the tallest ancient columns in the world. The entire complex showcases classic Roman architectural elements, Corinthian capitals carved with precision, detailed friezes depicting gods and legends, massive courtyards designed to inspire awe in worshippers arriving from across the empire. For centuries, scholars attributed the entire site to Roman engineering genius. Construction began under Emperor Augustus around 15 BCE and continued for generations. The historical timeline seemed straightforward. Romans arrived, Romans built, Romans left their unmistakable architectural signature. Case closed. But here is where the comfortable story begins to crack. The foundation supporting these Roman temples, the actual platform on which everything visible stands, was constructed using a completely different technique. While the Roman structures above use relatively standard-sized blocks that Roman engineering could handle, the foundation layer uses stones so massive they dwarf anything the Romans moved anywhere else in their vast empire. This is the part that does not make it into most guidebooks. This is the part that keeps engineers awake at night. The stones that defy explanation. This is what those guidebooks leave out. This is the trilithon, 3 stone blocks that form part of the western wall of the podium supporting the Temple of Jupiter. These are not decorative elements or symbolic monuments. They are structural foundation stones, and their dimensions defy everything we think we understand about ancient construction capabilities. Each block measures approximately 19 meters long, 4.2 meters high, and 3.6 meters deep. Picture that for a moment. 19 meters is longer than a bowling lane. These stones are taller than a single-story building, and the estimated weight sits around 800 tons per stone. Some calculations push closer to 1,000 tons depending on the exact density of the limestone. 3 of them sitting side by side, fitted together with joints so precise you cannot slide a razor blade between them. To understand what those numbers actually mean, you need comparisons. The largest stones used in the Great Pyramid of Egypt.
But though ancient Egyptian civilization lasted for nearly 3,000 years,
one of the most celebrated engineering achievements in human history, weigh about 80 tons. The trilithon blocks are 10 times heavier. The famous blue stones at Stonehenge, which have puzzled researchers for centuries because transporting them seemed so difficult, weigh roughly 25 tons each. The trilithon makes Stonehenge look like a children's building set assembled on a lazy afternoon. The heaviest single stone? The
Stonehenge is the most famous of Britain's stone circles.
Romans are documented to have moved anywhere else in their vast empire was approximately 300 tons, and that project was recorded as an extraordinary undertaking that pushed their engineering capabilities to absolute breaking limits. Engineers wrote about it. Historians celebrated it. The achievement was considered remarkable enough to document extensively. The trilithon blocks are nearly 3 times heavier than Rome's most ambitious documented achievement. And nobody wrote a single word about how they got there. But the scale of this mystery gets even more disturbing when you visit the quarry. Located about 800 meters from the temple complex, partially hidden by vegetation and modern development, lies a stone that locals call Hajar al-Hibla, the stone of the pregnant woman. It remains attached to the bedrock, abandoned mid-extraction, as if the workers simply walked away one day and never returned. The chisel marks are still visible. The cutting was nearly complete. A few more days of work, and this stone would have been free. This single block measures approximately 20.5 meters long, 4 meters high, and 4.5 meters wide. The weight estimate starts at 1,000 tons minimum. It has been sitting there unfinished for at least 2,000 years. Then in 2014, archaeologists conducting routine surveys made a discovery that rewrote the scale of the mystery entirely. Beneath the stone of the pregnant woman, hidden under centuries of accumulated soil and debris, lay another stone block, even larger than the one above it, estimated at 1,650 tons, the weight of a small naval destroyer carved from solid limestone. They found a third massive stone nearby as well, partially buried but unmistakably worked by human hands. All of them precision cut with the same mysterious technique. All of them shaped for architectural purposes with clear intent. All of them abandoned, as if whoever was working on them vanished before completing the job. Think carefully about what this evidence implies. Someone quarried these stones with deliberate purpose and a clear plan. Someone cut them with precision that modern engineers struggle to replicate even with diamond-tipped tools. Someone intended to transport them nearly a kilometer across uneven, rocky terrain. Someone planned to lift them 7 meters into the air and position them with millimeter accuracy alongside the blocks already in place. They had the confidence to begin. They had the capability to cut. And then something stopped them. The work halted abruptly. The stones were abandoned where they lay. And they have sat there in silence for at least 2,000 years, waiting for someone to finally ask the obvious questions that conventional archaeology keeps avoiding. The physics that does not work. Modern engineering provides useful context for understanding what we are looking at. The largest crane currently operating in the world is the Taisun crane in China, capable of lifting approximately 20,000 tons. But that is a massive fixed installation, permanently anchored, designed for shipbuilding operations. Mobile cranes that can actually travel to a site max out around 1,200 tons under optimal conditions on flat prepared ground with extensive setup time. The ancient builders at Balbeck were working with no steel cables, no hydraulic systems, no internal combustion engines, no wheels, which the terrain would have rendered useless anyway, no documented pulley systems of sufficient scale. At best, they had Bronze Age or early Iron Age tools, copper and bronze implements that should have been completely inadequate for the task. And they did not just somehow manage to move these stones. They positioned them 7 meters above ground level. They fitted them together with tolerances so tight that the joints are nearly invisible. They integrated them into a foundation platform that has survived multiple major earthquakes across 2 millennia without a single stone shifting out of position. The Roman columns above have toppled repeatedly. Only 6 of the original 54 remain standing. The megalithic foundation has not budged. The precision is what truly confuses modern engineers who study the site. The trilithon blocks do not simply sit on top of each other. They interlock with the surrounding masonry using a technique that requires each stone to be cut with extreme accuracy. Deviations of even a few centimeters would have made the construction impossible. The joints between these megaliths are so tight that you cannot insert a piece of paper between them. This is not rough construction by primitive people doing their best with limited tools. This is engineering sophistication that demands explanation. German engineer Dr. Eduard Kepler studied the site extensively and noted that the blocks show evidence of having been cut with saws or wire systems capable of handling tremendous pressure while maintaining perfectly straight lines across meters of solid limestone. The problem is that no evidence exists of the Romans possessing such technology. More troubling, the tool marks on the foundation stones do not match Roman techniques. When Romans cut stone, they left characteristic patterns from their chisels and picks. The Balbeck foundation stones show different marks entirely, smooth faces suggesting abrasive cutting or methods we do not associate with any known ancient quarrying technique. The transportation puzzle only deepens the mystery. The quarry where the stones were cut sits 800 meters southwest of the temple platform across terrain that is not particularly flat. How do you move an 800-ton block across uneven ground using only rope, wooden rollers, and human or animal power? Some researchers have proposed a system of log rollers. Let us examine what that would actually require. An 800-ton stone would need rollers made from the hardest available wood, likely cedar of Lebanon, famous in antiquity for its strength.
It's one of Lebanon's few unifying symbols.
Each roller would need to be at least 1 meter in diameter to handle the weight distribution without immediately splintering. You would need continuous replacement because even the strongest wood would crack and fail under such loads. You would need to constantly relay rollers from the back of the stone to the front as it advanced inch by painful inch. Even if this were theoretically possible, and many engineers remain deeply skeptical, you would need thousands of workers pulling in perfect coordination. Estimates range from 10,000 to 40,000 laborers depending on whose calculations you trust, all working in synchronized teams, all responding to commands with precision timing. Using communication systems we have no evidence ancient builders possessed. And then, after somehow dragging these stones across 800 meters of difficult terrain, you face an even more impossible challenge, lifting them 7 meters into the air and positioning them with millimeter accuracy. No ancient crane we have evidence for could accomplish this. No ramp system would be practical for stones of this weight. The physics simply do not work with the tools available. The silence that speaks loudest. The engineering challenges alone should make us question the official story. But there is another piece of evidence that is even more damning, and it is not what we found at Balbeck. It is what we did not find. Here is what makes the silence in historical records so deafening. The Romans were obsessed with documenting their achievements. They carved inscriptions on everything they built. They wrote detailed histories celebrating their engineering prowess and military conquests. They erected monuments to commemorate victories and constructed temples to honor the emperors who commissioned them. They made absolutely certain that everyone knew who built what and when, because glory was the currency of Roman power. An achievement without documentation was an achievement wasted. Consider how thoroughly they recorded their other great works. The Colosseum, commissioned by Vespasian, completed by Titus, finished in 80 CE. We know the exact timeline. We know which emperors oversaw which phases of construction. We have contemporary accounts describing the engineering challenges and the solutions Roman builders devised to overcome them. The Pantheon. Originally commissioned by Agrippa, rebuilt entirely by Hadrian around 126 CE. Documented extensively in multiple sources. We know about the revolutionary concrete dome, the precise geometry, the engineering innovations that made it possible. Roman pride in these structures was legendary and justified. They wanted credit for everything they accomplished, and they made sure they received it. So where are the records for the Balbeck Foundation? There are Roman inscriptions at Balbeck, certainly. Dozens of them scattered throughout the temple complex. But every single one references the temples above, the columns, the courtyards, the decorative elements. Not one inscription mentions the megalithic platform.
Cyclopean megaliths making up this huge platform. So all in all, we've got something really special going on here.
No emperor takes credit for moving the trilithon. No engineer's name is carved into those massive stones celebrating his genius. No contemporary historian mentions the incredible feat of quarrying, transporting, and positioning blocks weighing 800 to 1,000 tons each. The greatest engineering achievement in the history of the Roman Empire, and nobody thought to write it down. This absence becomes even more striking when you consider who was writing during this period. Pliny the Elder compiled an encyclopedia of natural history that devoted extensive sections to Roman engineering marvels. He wrote about quarrying techniques, transportation methods, and construction innovations. He praised achievements far less impressive than Balbeck. Yet he never mentions the megalithic foundation. Vitruvius wrote the definitive treatise on Roman architecture and engineering. His work documented construction techniques in minute detail, explaining everything from how to mix mortar to how to design temples. He never mentions Baalbek's impossible stones. These were men who made careers out of celebrating Roman accomplishments. Their silence is not an oversight, it is evidence. Think about what this means. If the Romans had actually accomplished the greatest engineering feat in the history of their empire, they would have celebrated it endlessly. Emperors would have competed to take credit. Engineers would have written treatises explaining their methods. Poets would have composed verses praising the achievement. Instead, nothing. Complete and total silence about the most impressive stonework at their most ambitious temple complex. What we do have documentation for are the later Roman additions to the site. Smaller stones using conventional Roman construction techniques. Typical architectural elements that match Roman work found throughout the empire. Standard building methods that Roman engineers understood and could replicate anywhere. It appears as if the Romans arrived at Balbeck and found a pre-existing platform already in place. They recognized its value. They built their magnificent temples on top of it, adding their signature style to the upper structures. But they left the massive foundation exactly as they found it, because they had no idea how it was built and no ability to replicate or even modify it. The silence in the historical record is not a gap in our knowledge. It is the answer hiding in plain sight. The builders who vanished. If the Romans did not build the foundation, who did? The site has been occupied for at least 9,000 years, 7,000 years before the Romans arrived. That is not speculation. Archaeological evidence confirms continuous human habitation stretching back to the earliest agricultural settlements in the region. Phoenician and Canaanite cultures inhabited the area for millennia before any Mediterranean empire turned its attention to this valley. They called the place Baalbek, the city of Baal, and considered it sacred ground long before Jupiter was ever worshipped here. When Greeks arrived, they associated it with sun worship and renamed it Heliopolis, the city of the sun. The Romans adopted this name and constructed their temple complex on ground that was already ancient and already holy. But none of these documented cultures possessed technology capable of moving 1,000-ton stones. The Phoenicians were skilled builders and traders, famous throughout the ancient world for their craftsmanship and engineering. They built ships that sailed the Mediterranean. They constructed cities that rivaled anything in Greece or Egypt. Yet nothing in their archaeological record approaches anything like the scale of the Balbeck Foundation. No Phoenician structure anywhere demonstrates the capability to quarry, transport, or position stones of this weight. The same is true for the Canaanites. The same is true for every other culture known to have occupied the region across 9,000 years of continuous settlement. Some researchers point to dating inconsistencies in the stonework itself. The massive foundation blocks show weathering patterns that appear far more extensive than the Roman structures built above them. The differential erosion suggests exposure to the elements for potentially thousands of years longer. The foundation looks older, significantly older. There is also a philosophical difference in the construction that suggests different builders separated by vast stretches of time. The Roman structures were built to be seen, to impress, to showcase imperial power and religious authority. They are decorated with carvings and inscriptions, proportioned for visual impact, designed for maximum effect on viewers. The megalithic foundation is functional to the extreme. No decoration whatsoever, no inscriptions, no aesthetic considerations of any kind, just massive stones fitted together with engineering precision for one purpose only, creating a stable platform that would last forever. Different builders, different priorities, different eras. The alternative timeline that some researchers propose goes something like this. An unknown civilization, possibly during the Bronze Age or even earlier, created the megalithic foundation using techniques and knowledge that have been lost. They possessed engineering capabilities that exceeded anything we associate with that era. Their work was either interrupted before completion or finished and then abandoned for reasons we cannot know. Centuries or millennia later, successive cultures, Phoenician, Greek, Roman, discovered these foundations and built upon them. Each culture added their own layer, their own structures, their own architectural signatures. But none ever achieved or even attempted the same engineering sophistication as the original builders. This theory elegantly explains the silence in Roman records. The Romans were building temples on a foundation they inherited, not one they created. Why? Would they document construction techniques they did not understand? Why boast about achievements that were not theirs? It explains the dramatically different construction methods between the foundation and the structures above. The Romans used their standard techniques for what they built. The megalithic foundation was already there, built by someone else using methods the Romans could not replicate. And it explains the abandoned stones in the quarry. The stone of the pregnant woman and its companions were shaped and ready for transport when something catastrophic interrupted the work. The original builders disappeared, or their civilization collapsed. Their partially completed project sat untouched for centuries, until later cultures arrived and made use of what they found. Recent technology has revealed details that earlier generations of archaeologists could not detect. Three-dimensional scanning of the megalithic stones has demonstrated that they were not just precisely cut for appearance. They demonstrate sophisticated understanding of load distribution and seismic resistance that seems impossible for any ancient culture in the region to have possessed. The way the stones interlock actually makes the structure more stable during earthquakes, allowing slight movement without catastrophic collapse. This is not accidental. This is intentional seismic engineering of a sophistication we associate with modern construction, not ancient stonework. Lebanon sits on a seismically active fault line running through the eastern Mediterranean. Multiple devastating earthquakes have struck the region over the millennia, toppling monuments and leveling cities across the ancient world. The Roman columns above have fallen repeatedly, despite numerous restoration attempts. Only 6 of the original 54 remain standing today. Yet the megalithic foundation has remained perfectly stable through every seismic event for over 2,000 years, not shifting a single millimeter. Modern engineers who have studied the site and attempted to model the construction using period-appropriate technology reach the same conclusion. It cannot be done. Not with the tools available to Bronze Age or Roman-era builders. The precision alone would require surveying and cutting equipment that did not exist. The transportation would require capabilities that exceed what any documented ancient technology could achieve. The lifting and positioning would be impossible with any system we have evidence for. In 2014, the discovery of additional massive stones in the quarry attracted renewed scientific attention. These were not random boulders. They were precisely shaped for architectural purposes, cut with the same mysterious precision as the stones already in place at the temple platform. The fact that they remain unfinished, still attached to the bedrock, points to a sudden and permanent interruption of the project. Whoever was quarrying these stones never came back. Ground penetrating. Radar surveys have revealed additional foundation structures beneath the visible stones, suggesting the platform extends deeper than anyone previously realized. There may be more megalithic construction buried underground, hidden beneath centuries of accumulated soil and debris, waiting to be discovered. Every new technology we apply to this site reveals more questions than answers. Every scan shows something unexpected. The mystery does not shrink with study. It expands. Beneath the sunlit Roman temples of Baalbek, the real story has been hiding for 2,000 years. Massive stones, cut with impossible precision, lifted and placed with methods we cannot identify, challenge everything we think we know about ancient engineering. The Romans may have built above them, but they did not create them. And if they didn't, then who did? And more importantly, what else remains hidden? Waiting beneath the monuments we think we understand? The answers are not in guidebooks or history, lectures. They are buried in plain sight, daring anyone brave enough to look closer. The mystery of Balbeck is far from over, and the next revelation could rewrite everything we believe about human capability.